was an unsolved video. I don't do many unsolved videos because personally I don't like unsolved. But when was this video? Yeah, a year ago, it says. A year ago. It must have been on the news or something, and they decided to make a video. It's only a short video. At least I don't have to worry about copyright because it's my own video. You can see that it must have been freezing cold when I did this video because I've got a great big jumper on. Bit different from now where it's a lovely 26 degrees. Weather's very nice. So I'm going to put this video on. I'm going to watch this video that I did.
Caught. Never ever caught. And so this happened in Putney, on Putney Bridge in London, in the UK. And this was a man jogging along the bridge, and unsuspecting people coming to attack a woman. This jogger just literally pushed her into the path of an oncoming bus. And it's only because of the quick actions of the bus driver that this woman survived. And the more times I look at this video, the more time you can see how close her head was. Let's have a look at the incident. So as I say, this was Putney Bridge in London in the UK. The incident. So as I say, this was Putney Bridge in London.
We are in Turkey.
This is our journey.
This is where the story of humanity arose.
We have so many stories to tell.
So this is a video I showed many. It's been released. It was released by the police at the time. I think it'd be as easy as anything. Really, that's very clear picture, isn't it? So there he was. He's running down the side of the road. Oh, and he literally just pushes that poor woman into the path of the oncoming bus. And the bus driver really...
Sorry, yeah, just so why didn't he push him into the road? You know, I probably did he. So this is definitely a case of gender violence. He let him walk past, but then he pushes the woman. Oh, there you go.
Here he goes. Pushes her over.
Look how close.
Look how close her head is to the wheels on that bus. And
so you see how the bus driver managed to. We're gonna have a look at the bus driver in a minute. He's a hero. He's hardly ever mentioned. You know, I wonder why. You'll see when you see him why he's never mentioned. So the person who's committed this terrible act, he's the ex-British, or allegedly the British ex-officer and the one with connections to the royal family, millionaire banker. The bus driver is obviously, at some point was an immigrant. So he's, what? It's like, when will people wake up to this? That it's like, even with the Preston Davy case, the reason why it's not been so much over the media as it should have been is because those dads are British. You know, in Britain now, the cases that get the most attention, they're always the cases that involve immigrants, because people know that, the media knows that people would jump on it. Anyway, he's pushed this. If it wasn't for this bus driver, that woman would be dead. that bus would have gone right over her head. Now, all right, maybe he didn't see the bus coming, maybe didn't mean to push her on, literally push her under a bus. But he knew he was pushing her not in the jogging lane or whatever. I mean, what the fuck? He doesn't own London. How dare he? How dare he push that woman out the way? Now, maybe he had an argument with his wife that morning. You know, maybe he was just hating women. Maybe his wife was divorcing him. Maybe someone had just split up from him. You know, but is that what you do? Take it out on every other person just because a woman's pissed you off? You're going to take it out on every other woman? What a horrible man.
To the quick reactions of the bus driver. Let's watch it again. Thanks to the quick reactions of the bus driver, that woman was not killed. Oh, just literally, that bus driver saved that woman's life. Now, this happened in 2017. Yeah, notice he didn't push that big bloke off.
No, didn't push the big man over.
That is
gender
violence.
Awful. It makes it especially awful because it'd be awful if he pushed the man off, but he's picked on the weaker person. You know, and he's done that deliberately, hasn't he? So just looking at what you're saying there, Sarah, that's interesting. Yes, I am a Leo, Sarah, and you saying you're a Sagittarius. Of course, Leo Sagittarians, they get on well, don't they? Because their signs, they have you know, what's the word? A lot of my friends over the years have been Sagittarians, funny, because you know, we understand each other, don't we? Like, you know, horoscope wise, if you believe in that kind of thing, which I do. Yeah, and what did you say? Your children are Leo and Aries, yeah. So yeah, fireworks, but you know what? But still, they're all good because Aries, they're all. How can I put it? My son is a Virgo, and that's hard work. You know, Leo's and Virgo, you know, so it's just. He doesn't understand me, I don't understand him. But over the years, I'm thinking of friends that I've had quite often in Sagittarians, partners. I had a boyfriend for a long time who was Sagittarian. Can't sound that well, honest. But not bad. He's probably one of the best. I never get on with any partners because I'm just difficult. I've had Leo partner. Anytime I've ever been out with it doesn't at all. I mean, they're hard horoscopes. So we're blabbing on about horoscopes now. But yeah, I think one day I'll do it. I haven't done anything about horoscopes in the men's life. Maybe I'll do that again this week. Not this week, sorry, it's next week, isn't it? Next Thursday. Maybe we'll do some horoscopes, see who's typical. Thing is, horoscopes are more complicated than you imagine. I'm a Leo, but I have a Cancer ascendant. Maybe that's why I get on quite well with Cancer people. Maybe it's so it waters down my Leo-ness a little bit. So, yeah, there's a lot to look into with horoscopes, isn't there? Anyway, did I say hello to Lily? I think I did. I think I did say hello to Lily. Oh, Lily's a Virgo. Now I get on okay with friends as Virgos. But, you know, there's different kinds of Virgos, of course, as well. Thing is, it's so complex. Maybe I just don't get on with my son because I won't say we don't get on. We get on really well sometimes, but there are times I've had to learn that my Leo-ness, Leo's I don't do it. I think girls worry about everything, don't they? Everything. And I worry up to a point, but I get to a point where I just think, I'm not going to worry about that anymore. But I do find with my son, he does worry, and I've had to learn that. To not take it lightly, because I don't understand why he worries sometimes about things that I wouldn't worry about. But so, you know, anyone that you live with, your child, be it your partner, be it your family, parents, well, it's hard living with someone because not every, you know, feels the same as you about things. And even if, as we've talked about before, sometimes you can agree with someone in 9 things out of 10, but one that just can't reach agreement on. And so learning to accept that that person will always think what you think. That's difficult with your kids, especially because as parents, we do bring our kids and we think maybe they'll agree with us with everything. They'll take the same views as us. And although my son, he does take a lot of the same views as me, but there are some different generations as well. So there are some things that we're polar opposites out, you know, not only because of our star sign, but just because of the fact of the difference in ages. And, you know, he's grown up in an era of the internet era, which I've been through the era where we didn't have any internet or anything, so I sort of done both periods, if you like. And yeah, you know, so there's many reasons why your children you think they're going to end up thinking the same as you, but sometimes just go complete opposite than you. They might, you know, even just things like they might vote differently to you, you know, or you try and bring them up as a Manchester City fan and they end up being a Manchester United fan, which is what happened to me with my son. You know, it's like, what? You know, so it's complex, isn't it? People are complex. So horoscopes are too simplistic. I'm not saying you have to judge someone by their horoscope, but there are some traits that people do have, I think, anyway. But yeah, I've had quite a lot of female friends have been okay that are Virgos, but men it just doesn't work out in. Yeah, I know I'm waffling, aren't I? I'm waffling like my dear. Sorry about that. Oh dear me, it doesn't take much. Well, do you know what? To be honest, it's quite. I know this sounds awful, but you know, it's been so grim lately, hasn't it? About it, even though it's been important, of course, and we so Monday, you know, came relief, isn't it, with those guilty verdicts? And although, of course, this case is serious, but at least nobody died, so it's quite nice to talk about a case without grievous that was involved with talking about Preston's case. You know, we hurt the soul, didn't it? I hope you're okay as well, all of you that were invested in Preston's, in the trial. And it is a relief to have those guilty verdicts, even though it doesn't bring that little boy back. It's a relief to know that they're not sort of still out there doing it maybe to other children or whatever. So, yeah, so that's why I'm waffling. But as I say, I will be editing out all the waffle to put the actual video out. Sarah said sons or their mum. Yeah. I mean, I think when it comes to push and shove, yeah, I agree with you. I think they do. They do. But you know, they're not to live with Sarah. They've got to live with just, you know, at the end of the day, he's a grown man now. And so, it's, you know, I am a very, how can I put it? I am quite a solitary person in lots of ways. And I like company, but I like it when I want it. And so it's over the weekend he went out and he stayed over at a friend's. It was so nice. It was so peaceful in the house, and not a load of cooking going on and this, that, and the other, and go and pick him up or take him to work, and was nice. But yeah, I would miss him if he wasn't here. Probably be nice if he just lived around the corner, wouldn't it? Not here in my house, but just not too far away. I wouldn't want him to be living over here. A lot of people, of course, their adult children go off to live in Australia or Thailand or whatever. I'm glad that he's not far away. I am glad. Anyway, right, I am definitely going to stop waffling now. Yeah, we're really looking forward, aren't we, to the verdict? The sentence. Can't wait. Someone's saying hello to Muesli. Hello, Muesli. You never get on with Taurus, but I can't family member Taurus, and I hope if we ever did meet, we would. I mean, everybody's different, aren't they? You can meet 5 Virgos or 5 Leos or 5 Taurus. They won't all be exactly the same, so we're all individuals, so I just think they're a trait, and they're, in many ways, I am a typical Leo, but as I say, because of having the ascendant, Cancer ascendant, I do think I'm not got the full blown Leo, but there are of being a Leo I've got. Right, okay, I'm going to stop waffling, I promise. What I want to look at now is the bus driver. So before we let anything else, I want the bus driver who saved that woman's life. Of course, the woman named, she won't be named until it comes to the court case, if it comes to a court case. So don't forget, this guy has not actually been charged yet. But let's look of the bus driver. Yeah, very rare. But do you know anything about the bus driver? Probably a lot of people know about the Putney Pusher. This is the guy who was driving. His name is Oliver. Yeah, don't see much about him on the news, do you? Let me read something out about him. So his name is Oliver Salbris. Let's see if I will find an article about him. Oh, so this was an article in the Metro, September 2017. Hero bus driver explains why he thinks Putney put into his path. Only the bus driver's quick thinking that averted this. He moved his bus just in time to avoid hitting the victim's head. It was her head as well. She would have died, wouldn't she? And he said on, I can't show the video because it's Good Morning Britain. They always pull you up for copyright. Mr. Salbris said he had not been contacted by the woman, but added that she would be dealing with the incident in her own way. that's happening. Anyway, so this bus driver said, Oliver said, if she had died, I would have had to live with a weight on my shoulders for the rest of my life. You know, that, you can imagine. A few, and he had three suicides. You know, 3 people jumped in front of his train at different points, not 3 together, but he would be driving his train and 3 times people committed suicide by jumping in front of his train. And of course you can't do anything about it. And what he said was their eyes were empty. He could see they'd jump in front of him and they would be looking at him. And the eyes, he said, it was like there was nothing there. They were just blank. And he had to live with that, you know. So luckily, guy move out the way. Luckily for the woman. Luckily for the did it, because he'd be looking at murder charge, wouldn't he? He'd at murder charge. So this driver, he did deserve all the commendations, didn't he, that he got, really. So let's just go back to reading that. I think I might have finished it, actually. Yeah. So that's the bus driver, Oliver. You know, he's not talked about more. Wonder if it's because he's not British. Well, say he's not British. He is British, obviously, but you know, it's funny. This man needs to be caught so he can explain he's been arrested. What they did true. If this guy wouldn't have reacted, we'd now be looking at a murder charge. The woman would be dead, probably. You know, if a bus goes over your head, you're not likely to survive it, are you? And if you did survive it, you would have terrible brain injuries, I would imagine. So well done, Oliver. Well done. Thank you for saving that woman's life. And as I say, you know, the guy who actually did it, he wants to be grateful as well. That this, because he'd be looking at a murder charge otherwise, wouldn't he? I'm going to put this picture back up. So at the time when I did the video about it, I said, I can't believe nobody knows who this guy is. Because it's a very clear picture, isn't it, really? You know, we don't know who he is. But if that was my son or any man that I know well, I would look at that video. I would know it was him. I would know 100% it was him. Somebody knew who he was, because this was all over the news. It's been all over. It's been worldwide news. You know, it's such a random act, you know. So somebody knew who this person was. But now, of course, it turns out he's a millionaire black banker. He's an ex-British Army officer, and he's got connections to the royal family. So, you know, why did nobody come forward and say who he was? Makes you wonder, doesn't it? You know, it's not what you know, it's who you know, isn't it, in this world? Strange. Anyway, sorry, I'm just putting down. And then say in the chat there. So, okay, in the chat. I'm sorry, Sarah. I'm just going to take that message off. I know you won't mind because I don't mention other YouTube channels on my channel because it causes problems. It can cause problems. That's all. But that's just a thing about my channel. Sorry. So I have taken that comment off, just so you know. Okay. So let's have a look. Let me read you what's happened. What was the news? So he was arrested, first of all, on the charge. I think it is GBH that he's been arrested for. And then he was bailed, I suppose. I mean, he wouldn't have a problem making bail, would he, if he's a millionaire? So an unnamed arrested, 9 under a bus, and now infamous case. The suspect was 33 when that happened. He was arrested at his home in West London on suspicion of attempted grievous bodily harm and released on bail. Now he's been re-arrested, having Class A and Class B drugs. That's likely he's bound, isn't it? Because he's bound to have that this guy wouldn't have been recognised. But it makes you wonder, as he fell out with somebody who's now come forward and put in relation to all offences, and then pushing other women under buses. We don't know. Has he done anything since the domestic? It's an unusual thing to do, isn't it? If you've got no history of aggression or violence, if you've got no history of aggression or violence, you wouldn't just do that. That's a big thing to do, isn't it? To push someone into the road. Who would do that? Someone you don't even know. It's not as if they'd had an argument and, he just lost his temper. He's literally jogging down the road, probably angry about something that's happened in his own life. And he's ignored the big guy who walked past because he didn't want to push him into the road because he might hit him back, mightn't he? They didn't want to do that, but he saw the woman and he thought, oh yeah, she'll do. Take out my vengeance on, something that we don't even know about. Terrible. It just seems even worse that it's a random. If someone does something in a fit of rage or passion, crime of passion, we all get angry with people, don't we, in our lives? For whatever reason, people can hurt us. Though I still think even then I wouldn't do this, push someone. I'm not saying I wouldn't get angry with someone. Of course I would. I'm a human being. But to push someone into the road, I think, is a bit special, don't you? It's a big thing to do, isn't it? Most of us, we have that cut off button in our head. We may have dark thoughts. I think we all have dark thoughts sometimes, don't we? It'd be unusual not to have any dark thoughts. But we have this there's almost like an interruptor. I'm thinking in Spanish there. What do you call it? An interrupter switch in our brains. So, when we think about doing something bad, this switch comes on and says, no, it's wrong. Most of us wouldn't do it, even if we were angry, But he wasn't angry with this woman. He didn't even know her. He didn't even speak to her. He was angry with somebody else about something else. Or just maybe he's generally angry, I don't know. But he took it out on a stranger. I think that's quite unusual. think that's quite unusual, isn't it? I'm not saying, it obviously has happened. You're mentioning a case there, mostly that I actually don't know about. But yeah, things can happen. But I would never. I mean, listen, I get angry with strangers. It's mainly road rage, but I just sat in my car swearing at them quietly. I don't get out of the car and punch them or, like anything like that. But, you get angry. But if the thought of actually deliberately hurting somebody, no matter how angry you are, but certainly not when they've not even done anything to you, it's quite strange, isn't it? It's when you think of him as an ex-officer in the British Army. So you imagine what sort of things did he do when he's in the army? Because I really do think that a lot of people that join the services, it's because they have dark thoughts and they want to kill people and hurt people. A lot of people do join the services for that reason. Maybe he did. What bad thing? People always think that whatever country you're from, people always think it's all the other armies that are bad and they do bad things like RAPE or stuff like that. But British soldiers do it too. Or there's good. It's like anything else. Good and bad in everyone. Good police, bad police. Good soldiers, bad soldiers. You get soldiers who wouldn't dream of doing any, harming civilians, and they join the army just so that they can do that. So just because he was an officer in the British Army doesn't mean he's a good chap, does it? But obviously, clearly, he isn't. So, yeah, millionaire banker and ties to the royal family. Yeah, it looks like he's got a coffee in his hand, I suppose. Could have been a lot worse, couldn't it? Could have been a lot worse. So we've got we've got to see. I say it's not been actually charged. We have to remember that. Now, I just wanted to show you this video. So I was sort of trying to get some information about it this morning. So I did a YouTube search, for the Putney Pusher, see what videos came up. And this video came up. Talk TV. Does anybody actually watch that crap? Oh my God, what this awful man, that presenter on there. I have seen him before. He's awful, in my opinion. He again didn't really mention the bus driver or show a picture of him or anything. He doesn't fit the agenda of Talk TV, did he? I mean, Talk TV isn't that the one that Nigel Farage speaks on, presents on? I mean, they're just awful. I can't believe anybody watches it. I did notice it didn't have that many views. For Talk TV would probably like to describe themselves as mainstream media, and normally on YouTube channels, not little YouTube channels like mine, but YouTube channels of mainstream media normally get quite a lot of views. This didn't have loads of views, so it had a couple of thousand, but it wasn't that many when you think there's supposed to be a mainstream news channel. Anyway, I came up on this video. I just want to show it you because this guy, who watches this crap? Seriously. If you know, got sensible, which he didn't. But make sure it's sharing. I'd be scared of him, I think, because the things he says, he's very protective of the guy. You notice this through this video. He's sort of almost blaming the woman because it's like saying, oh, well, maybe Dad had an argument with his wife or maybe this, and he's ruined his life, hasn't he? Why would he do that? Well, he didn't do much for her life or the bus driver's life either. But I think he's very concerned about the actual pusher Very strange guy. I think he would likely do something like this. He even says himself he might do that sort of thing himself. But in this Kevin O'Sullivan, what a twonk he is.
Global, because nobody could work out what it was all about. 9 years ago, on a nice sunny morning in London, a jogger jogging across, jogging away before work.
Sorry, it's going to buffer because it does it. This doesn't like it when I play videos, does it? This computer bloody thing. It's buffering. It's buffering.
And then he does that. It just randomly pushes that woman. I mean, how she didn't die is a miracle. The bus driver's a serious hero. Look at that.
Yeah.
He manages to sort of take that bus away from her, and she only received. He's never been found. 9 years on, a 44-year-old millionaire banker, apparently with connections to royalty, has been arrested. Police say they allege they also found dangerous drugs in his possession. He remains under investigation. Now, is this case, this mystery about to be solved? Let's talk to Dr. David Holmes, psychologist. Hi, David.
Hi.
Now, what I want to ask you is, we don't know the details of that, but it looks pretty much as if that is utterly random. Now, we're told, again, nobody's been charged. We don't know he's the perpetrator, but a 44-year-old millionaire banker, apparently with high connections, known to royalty, has been arrested and is being interviewed with a view to being charged with GBH, grievous bodily harm, for this shocking incident. Now, as I say, we mustn't sort of affect the case in any way, but what I wanted to ask you, David, is what is it? People do this, don't they? Sometimes in the spur of a moment, in a split second, somebody will do something without even thinking about it, sort of random, almost instinctive gesture that could ruin this guy's life, if you see what I mean. What's going on there? I mean, what would you think if we accept that was purely random? Why would he do that?
I think the word you were struggling for was impulsive.
Yes, that's right. I'm not very articulate, David, give me a break.
Just suddenly you react to something or a situation. Something sparks an action.
I swear this Kevin O'Sullivan is drinking as he's on these things. He's just full of cojones, isn't he?
I mean, you could be really lenient and say, oh, maybe he thought he was going to trip and put his hands out. I don't think so.
No.
And you say the guy caught is a banker. We can't assume he's guilty.
No, not at all, no.
But our image of a banker is somebody sitting behind a counter and not really being someone that would be violent or somebody involved in some horrendous misogynistic killing. But in this case, maybe he's not entirely just a banker. He's someone who's quite good at taking money from people. He's ex-army, I believe.
Well, that's it. Just because he's a banker, millionaire banker, doesn't mean he's a nice person, does it? Or that he was an ex-officer, as you're saying, Sarah. There are misogynists in the forces, and that you'd be silly to say they're not. It doesn't mean say all armed forces are, but some of them are. Some of them are not nice people. It's like every walk of life. Like some teachers aren't nice people, as we've seen with Jamie Varley and the Preston case. You can't assume that just someone's got a professional job or got what we think of as a good job, like police or a politician or whatever. Doesn't mean they're a nice person. They're, just like plumbers aren't all nice people or electricians aren't. you know, or bin men, people who work in Tesco. We're all people, and some people are not nice, sadly. Now, if that had happened in Spain, it's a really big thing to gender violence crimes in Spain are big now, you know, like really treated very seriously. And that's because they're trying to make up for all the years under Franco when gender violence just was pushed under the, you know, it was almost legitimate to beat your wife when Franco was the dictator here in Spain. So now it's, you know, they're really trying hard to stamp it out. So this would, if this crime had happened in Spain, it would be treated as a gender violence case, and it would be all the more serious because of it. I don't know if that happens in the UK.
So maybe we're getting the character wrong. Maybe this is somebody who is a little bit pushy, violent in normal life.
If it is him, you know, if it is him.
Yeah.
But what I'm thinking is we've got to be very careful there. Obviously, we don't know in any way that this man under arrest, 44-year-old billionaire banker, is indeed the culprit. But I'm thinking that maybe he's jogging away. She's slightly in his path or something.
Yeah.
And just, as you say, a kind of almost subconscious reaction, get out of my way, like that. Now, when he did that, whoever it was, there's the chance, if he's caught, if he's ever caught, that moment where he just went, boom, like that, get out of my way, that could ruin his life. It's extraordinary, isn't it?
It almost certainly will ruin his life if he's found guilty, because it was just a heinous crime as we see it. From his point of view, he probably couldn't see the bus. He was pushing someone who was obviously more in his way than the guy before her.
No.
And yeah, maybe he just lost his temper for a second. Get out of my way. I'm fed up of walking into people, not realizing he was pushing.
Like, I think just like Kelly has just said there, you know, you're talking about a millionaire banker, an entitled prat probably, on cocaine and drugs, is because don't forget he's been arrested for drug possession as well. You know, it's a bad mix, isn't it? And he veered that. She was not in his way. He moved towards her to push her, and he didn't push the guy because he's a big guy and he wasn't going to attack a big guy. You know, that's why he did it. He did it because he's a twonk. Makes you wonder, you know, what is he like in his normal life if he can do that? Some stranger walking down the street towards him in public. So if he's got not enough filter that he can do something like that in public on Putney Bridge in broad daylight, what's he doing at home to his partner? You know, he's not going to be better than that, is he? You know,
that's what it is, David. I'm just looking at it. She's walking just off the pavement in the kind of jogging, cycling lane. And he's obviously sort of gone, get out of my way, and done that. And as I say, if this is the guy or whoever it is, if they ever get caught, this moment, this subconscious moment, just get out of my way, is going to ruin his life.
Yeah, really.
Totally and completely. There's a big hate campaign against him prior to any knowledge of who he was. So this is somebody who's going to achieve notoriety at least, and I mean, attempts.
Exactly, Heather. He moved. He didn't just carry on running straight and she was walking right into him. He veered towards her. It's as clear as I mean, the good thing about this case is if it ever comes to court, they've got a bloody video there that shows clearly what happened. So, you know, you can't argue about it. That was a good thing in the Preston Daly case, wasn't it? All the videos that twonk took. You know, they undo that. He didn't know, obviously, that he was on CCTV. But it just shows he's pretty thick. Because if you don't know that when you're running across Putney, across London Bridge, you're likely to be on CCTV. If you don't even know that, you're pretty thick, aren't you? CCTV is everywhere in Britain, but especially in public places like that. You know, it's not like a little back street somewhere.
Grievous bodily harm, murder. When you look at the consequences,
I think they're going to try for GBH, but here's the deal. This is the definition, the very definition, I would suggest, of an unpremeditated crime.
No. Do you know how thick this guy is? Because premeditation, you literally, to be considered a premeditated crime, it doesn't mean you've got to plan it for weeks beforehand. You've got to have the intention that in that moment you thought you were deliberately going to do it. It's not an accidental crime where he, bumped into her as he went by. Now, I know somebody who was a Scottish person, actually, a friend of mine was telling me about someone she knew. He got life for murder, for premeditated murder, because before he was in a fight in a bar, which probably lots of people get involved in. And there was this altercation between him and another guy. And because he said, before he punched the other guy, so he punched the guy, didn't mean to kill him. He punched him, but, sometimes punches in the head, they kill people. And the guy died. And because this guy, although really it's clear it was a fight and he did not mean to kill him, but because just before he punched him, he said, I'm going to kill you. Sort of thing that people say without really probably meaning they're actually going to kill someone. He said that before he punched him, and he was heard saying that. He got done for murder and he got life imprisonment. So what this guy's saying, well, he is a prat anyway. What's his name? Kevin O'Sullivan, he is a prat. But he doesn't even know the law. So premeditation, don't have to be planning it 3 weeks beforehand. He did premeditate it because he deliberately moved towards the woman. So that in itself is premeditation. Wasn't an accident. He meant to push her. Might not have meant to kill her, but he meant to push her, and there was always a chance that, she was right next to a road. He might not have known there was a bus coming at that precise moment, but he knew there were cars that he was on a busy road. So, sorry, I think if it ever comes to court, a good prosecution lawyer, if he comes to court, he's going to get the book thrown at him, because there's the video of it, there's the clear intention. And as you say, Heather, he's probably a woman hater. He probably, there's some reason why he's picked on her particularly. And has he done anything since or even before? And what did he do when he was a British Army officer? Was he in Bosnia and places like that where he could do horrible things to women that would have just got hidden?
This could be. We don't know. I mean,
maybe he knows
that. It could turn out that he's
his wife.
The women.
He's never liked her.
I don't think he recognised her, but he might have.
I don't think so, David. I'm being facetious.
No, because I think she would have recognised him, or at least in subsequent times, discovered who he was or had some connection. But I don't think that's the case. I think she just happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. However, his act of aggression is something that could have just pushed somebody off the Eiffel Tower. It's not. It's not a simple, act of shouting at her or just slapping her arm or anything. This was an attempt to actually injure the person at least, and had to be. I think should be dealt extremely harshly. And I would actually gamble on saying that he has some kind of record of sort of a violent character.
Well, it'd be very interesting, won't it, if it does turn out to be this millionaire banker, or whoever it turns out to be fascinating for someone like yourself to look into his background and see what would lead to that. I used to do quite a lot of jogging myself before my body gave up, and I know what it is quite annoying when somebody steps out in front of you, but I like to think that I wouldn't go like.
Yes, quite annoying when someone steps out in front of you. Well, do you know what? You don't own the road just because you're a jogger or a pedestrian or a cyclist or a driver. Nobody owns the road. We have to share the road. You know, it's like, I've noticed with joggers, like cyclists, they don't like stopping, do they? So they're in their jog and they're probably in their zone, aren't they? And I used to jog many, many years ago, probably in my 30s. I never liked it, really. I don't understand the attraction of jogging. But people do love it, don't they? And they get lost in the zone. So if someone then, but she wasn't, the thing that I'm trying to say is she was not in his way. He had to move out of the way to push her. He could have jogged past her. There was loads of room. She was not in his way. I understand if someone steps out deliberately in front of you as you're just about to jog past, it must be irritating. But she was not in his way, was she?
Like that. But
well, I know I wouldn't.
Yeah, well, I don't know I
times,
wouldn't. I'm just going to hope that I wouldn't.
I don't know I wouldn't. I'm just going to hope that I wouldn't. Well, I know I wouldn't. There's no, I'm not saying that I might not shout at someone, but I know for a fact I would not push him over into the road. 100%. He doesn't know that. See, he does. He's such a tosser, this Kevin O'Sullivan. As I said, I just found this video by accident because I put into YouTube, Putney Pusher, and this came up, and I watched it. I thought, oh my God, Jesus. But anyway, yeah, Sarah, you're right. In Leeds, there is a lot of domestic violence, and here in Spain, this is a recent thing. So there was terrible domestic violence in Spain. In fact, under Franco, it was just really accepted. It was almost, there's no, women have nowhere to go. You couldn't go to the police because they were all domestic abusers themselves. It was, anyway, fortunately, Spain has moved on since then. And now it's, as in typical Spanish fashion, now it's almost like, really sort of, how can I explain it? It's gone from one extreme to another, really. So it's almost as if, so the woman would always be believed now, which, the women don't always tell the truth, sadly. That's a shame as well. I always think there's only one thing worse than a stalker, is some woman who claims to be stalked when she's not really, because people who make false claims just make it bad for genuine victims, don't they? But anyway, but there is still domestic violence in Spain. It's just that it is dealt with so much more harshly now than it used to be. And women do have, they can go to the police and get instant action, and they can be protected and all that. Whereas it's not that long ago where they didn't get any protection. So, it's good. But yeah, there are lots of places in the UK, just like everywhere else, domestic violence. Not only men against women, is it? Because there's domestic violence, women against men as well. We've covered a couple of cases. Probably need to cover more cases of the other way around, because women are capable of bad things as well, of course. It's just not as often, but it doesn't mean to say it doesn't happen. But yeah, I think this guy was definitely, he picked on her because she was a woman. 100%. 100%. No, she didn't die, Sean, because the bus driver took very quick action and moved out of the way. I think it will show it. Well, we'll just watch this to the end and then you'll see the video.
David, excellent to talk to you. Thank you so much for your time. That's Dr. David Holmes, psychologist.
Let's go back a bit.
Year-old millionaire banker, apparently with high connections, known to royalty, has been arrested. and is being interviewed.
So did you see this bit, Sean? You obviously haven't heard of this case. It's quite a famous case, to be
Connections known to royalty, has been arrested and is being interviewed with a view.
The bus driver, who's called Oliver, he just literally, it's a good job he saw her, even, because he could have been just looking the other way or whatever. He's on a bus lane. He hasn't got any reason to think there'll be anything in that bus lane. The bus lane's as clear, apart from her, suddenly that woman falling in front of his bus. The bus lane is perfectly clear. There's no reason for him to be, worried that there's going to be anything in the bus lane. And he just, luckily, his reactions, he pushes the woman over.
Shocking incident. Now, I say,
every time I watch that, it gives me a start, even though I know that she's okay, because her head goes so close to those bus wheels. And if that bus driver wouldn't have just had those quick reactions and moved out of the way, that bus would literally have gone over her head, and that she wouldn't have survived that, would she? Surely she wouldn't have. She couldn't have survived it. Or if she did survive, it would be with bad brain injuries, wouldn't it? So yeah, terrible. Anyway, so he's been arrested. So basically, the news is he was arrested. This 44-year-old millionaire banker, ex-British Army officer with connections to the royal family, after 9 years, has been arrested twice, but he has not been charged yet. He's out on bail pending further investigation.